going to be looking at this really cool little descending triad progression that I think is really going to help your understanding of the movable chord shapes. We're going to be looking at some of those embellishments that I think will also improve your rhythm playing and your fills. And so let's start by looking at the progression in the open position, just to show you how simple and common a progression it is, and how much more boring it sounds played in the open position. What we're trying to do here is spice up, give a little variety to your playing. So we have A, A7, D, D minor, back to A, E, okay, so obviously that was an exaggeration to show it in a really boring way, but one of the ideas we're really looking at is, as I've said many times before, you don't have to play all 6 strings of a chord. You don't have to play 5 strings. You don't have to play 4. You can play 3. And especially if you're in a full band setting, it's going to really help because you're going to cut through better. It's going to give some variety instead of just hearing, you know, all the time. So we're starting with the D shape of an A chord. Right, this is your movable D shape. We're bringing it up to 9 and 10 here. Second string root is an A note. So you know that down here you have your D sus4, so just know that anywhere you play that D shape, you have a sus4 available to you. Okay? Let's say your song has 2 bars of A major. How can you spice up that progression? Well, instead of playing 2 bars of A major, you can play 1 bar of A major and 1 bar of A7. So that's sort of tip number 1 here. So you know that this is your D7 shape. To make a D in this open position, a D7, you go like that. Well, know that you have that anywhere on the fretboard. That you have a D shape, you can turn it into a D7 very easily. And have that bluesy lick available to you anytime. Another thing to know here is if you can do a sus4 on the major triad, then you can still do a sus4 on the 7. So we have an A7, we're doing a sus4 on it. Sounds really sweet, right? Okay, so A7, we went to a D, and there I'm playing the A shape of a D chord, right? You should know that this is your 4-3-2 at the 7th fret. We're barring to get a D major triad. And then I did the Keith Richards. Okay, that's going up one fret on the 2nd string, 2 frets on the 4th string. This is Keith's bread and butter that I've shown you in dozens of lessons. Alright, so that's made up of going from the major 3rd to the 4, a sus4, right? You know that on your A shape you can make it a sus4 like that, so anywhere you have the A shape you can make a sus4 by going up 1 fret on the 2nd string. And then the other piece of the Keith Richards hammer-on is going up 2 frets from the 5 to the 6. So we're in a D major chord. We went from the major 3rd, the F sharp, to the 4, the G, and we went from the 5, the A note, to the 6, the B note. It's similar to if you were playing the top 2 strings of this shape of the D chord and doing that very common hammer-on. Again, from the A note to the B note is from the 5 to the 6 of the key. Right? Really common hammer-on. Anyway, we're doing the Keith Richards over the D major chord there, and then we're dropping down to a D minor. So here's another takeaway that you can, instead of doing on your 4 chord, instead of doing all major, play half major and then half minor. So if it was 4 beats, you could do 2 beats of D major, 2 beats of D minor, or 1 full measure of D and 1 full measure of D minor, depending on the song. Like going from that A to the A7, it creates tension and interest. So what do we have there? We have 4-3-2 of this shape of the D minor, which is of course our A minor movable shape, brought up here to the 5th fret. You know this chord, I think. Because if this was the movable A shape, then obviously it only makes sense that this is the movable A minor shape. So we have a D minor chord. Another takeaway is to know that you can do the sus4 hammer-on over a minor chord, just like we did over the major chord. You can go, we can also go, cool, right? And then I drop down to this version of an A chord. This is 4-3-2 of this shape, which of course you should know is your E shape out of the Cage system. I like to sometimes call it the F shape. It's a little easier to visualize, but anyway, it's this bar chord that you all know and love or hate. So I'm playing 4-3-2 out of that and doing a simple sus4 on that one, which is on the 3rd string going from the 6th to the 7th fret. You should know that, right, from playing your F chord here, that that's how you do a sus4 over that shape, right? And then I drop down to an E chord. You should hopefully be able to see that that's your D shape, right? This is a D chord, this is a D sharp chord, this is an E chord. Just adding the 4th string of that with the 6th fret so I can play it on 4-3-2. And then I did a hammer on there on the 3rd string from the 4th to the 6th fret. And again, that's your 5 of the chord to the 6 of the chord, like I showed you a minute ago. It's a really nice embellishment going from the 5 to the 6 of the chord. And then tension released to the 1, to the A major chord. Now I could have gone Keith Richards again there and gone that would have sounded fine, but I did this instead. 2nd string is the same as the Keith Richards and the sus4 hammer-ons we've been doing. But instead of going up 2 frets on the 4th string to the F sharp, I just went up 1 to the F. So what would that be? Well, I like to think of it as the Jimmy Page move instead of the Keith Richards move. From 10 Years Gone. I did a lesson on 10 Years Gone probably almost 10 years ago. Maybe more like 8 years ago, but it's a good lesson. Check it out. If if you look at the chord charts for 10 Years Gone, you'll see this labeled in a variety of ways: D minor 9, F major 13, blah blah blah. I prefer to just think of it as a D minor triad, right? Because that's what you have. It's inverted, but you have a D, you have an F, and you have an A, which is, of course, what a D minor triad is. D, F, A. So, just like the Keith Richards thing is going 1 to 4, A to a D, right? D, A, F sharp. This little embellishment is going essentially 1 to the minor 4. And it's cooler, right? No, I'm not going to say the Jimmy Page move is cooler than the Keith Richards move. It's just more interesting in this context, and it's not as frequently done. So it adds kind of a melancholy, right, which is of course what minor does as opposed to a happier major chord. So I just liked it in this context for whatever reason. So just know that you have that there. Along with the Keith Richards move, you have the Jimmy Page move, and you have it anywhere on the fretboard. So up here we could have done, instead of that happy major sound, we could have gone the more melancholy, or the saddest of all keys. Isn't that what Nigel Tufnell said? So just know that you have that little Jimmy Page 10 Years Gone embellishment available to you anywhere on the fretboard. And that was basically it. When in between I did a little walk up. And so that was just going from one shape of an A chord, the F shape, to the other shape of an A chord, the D shape, with what you can think of as the top 3 notes of a B minor triad there as a interlude, as a step. And that's those, parts. That's parts of those harmonized sixths that I've shown you a million times. The Soul Man licks, the Brown Eyed Girl licks. This is just playing them as full triads instead of as harmonized sixths. Alright, a lot of information, a lot of great information today. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for joining me. I'll see you next time.